Welcome to the Professional Troublemaker podcast. This is the place where we help you cultivate the courage, authenticity, and audacity you need to use your voice, take up space, and live a life that is so bold, even your wildest dreams say goals. I'm your host, Luvvie Jones, New York Times bestselling author, sought-after speaker, and side-eye sorceress, bringing you thought-provoking conversations with amazing people who have taken action and have consistently showed up with the courage and confidence they needed to become the fear fighters they are today. Like the late, great John Lewis said, these are the kind of people who are never, ever afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. Before we jump into today's interview, know that this podcast is named after my second New York Times bestselling book, Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual, which is available now wherever you get your books. With this book and with everything that I do, I am on a mission to help 1 million people live audaciously. To do that, they must fight their fear. So think of it, 1 million people who are out there standing on the edge of something great and need that little push of encouragement. That push to be the domino, to say the hard thing, to have the hard conversation. 1 million people kicking their fears to the curb and stepping into the life that they've been dreaming of. 1 million people asking for a raise. 1 million people, starting a fierce job that they're not sure they're ready for. 1 million people doing something that feels so big that their wildest dreams say goals. My goodness. So that is what writing this book has done for me. What it's already done for those who are reading it and gifting it to others. This book has empowered people to say yes to things that they were previously saying no to. It's empowered people to have tough conversations they weren't gonna have before. People have asked for raises and promotions and gotten them after reading this book and finding the courage to speak up. The domino effect of what has been happening when a few people have decided not to live in the realm of fear has been amazing. Think of what could happen if 1 million people stop letting fear be the first factor in their decision-making. An audacious mission like that can't happen without you. So let's get this book in the hands of as many people as possible. Buy a copy of Professional Troublemaker for yourself or as a gift for your friend who needs a push. I know it'll change your life like it's changed mine. And I know it will change lives of all these people who touch it because domino effects are real. Professional Troublemaker, which is available in hardcover or audiobook, I narrated it, and ebook, is now at professionaltroublemakerbook.com. Order it there or wherever you buy your books. On today's episode of Professional Troublemaker, I'm talking to Rachel Rodgers. Rachel is the founder of Hello7, a multi-million-dollar company that teaches women how to earn more money and build wealth. And she's the author of We Should All Be Millionaires, a woman's guide to earning more, building wealth, and gaining economic power, which is out today everywhere you buy your books. Rachel is giving us all the good info on how she grew up, telling some powerful, informative stories she's never shared before anywhere else. She talks all about her career as a lawyer and how she shifted into the coaching and entrepreneurial space, and why she's so passionate about making sure women, especially Black women, have the knowledge and tools they need to build multi-generational wealth. Rachel is someone who works hard, knows her boundaries, and is such a professional troublemaker. So let's get into this conversation. All right, so Rachel, welcome to Professional Troublemaker.
I'm so delighted to be here.
Oh my gosh, it is good to have you here because you are absolutely a professional troublemaker.
Fortunately and unfortunately, there's a cost to being a professional troublemaker.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, there is a cost. A lot of people can't pay it, but that's why you got money. You can pay it. You got the coins. Okay. So I start by asking people, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Oh, I love that question. I wanted to be a lawyer, which is what I grew up to become first. That was my first career. But I used to, when I was a kid, my mom was super into crime dramas and stuff. So I would just sit there and watch her and there'd always be a lawyer. It was usually a white guy, but fighting for the little guy, in the courtroom. And I was like, I want to be that person. So that's what I was hype about. And I went to law school and everything. And I was like, this does not look like the movie that I saw when I was 8.
saw. This does not look like Perry Mason or none of them people. Yo, it's hilarious. Like every time I ask that question, there's like a high percentage of people either saying doctor or lawyer. Mm-hmm. The difference is a lot of people who said lawyer actually saw it through to some point. A lot of us who said doctor, we quit way before that.
Oh, that shit's hard. Let's be real.
Like we quit way before. Like science just punches you in the face and tells you no.
Yeah. You got to have a next level of wanting it for that.
I ain't got it. I'm like, I don't have it. So like, what were you like? What was little Rachel like?
You know what's so funny is little Rachel was very much like I am right now. Loudmouthed, very opinionated, very stand up for the little guy. Like I'm the person who, and I think that's why I wanted to be a lawyer, because I was also the person like in my little squad, like we'd be walking home from elementary school with our backpacks on, you know, and there'd be some like bully or something that's like stealing people's backpacks and stuff like that on the way home from school. I grew up in Queens, New York. Yeah. I remember one time I was telling my therapist, like giving her my childhood history, and she was just like, she was like in shock. I was like, what? This is normal. Maybe not. But in New York, it was rough. So, you know, people getting threatened and stuff like that, fights happening on the way home from school. And I was the one that was jumping in like, nah, y'all ain't going to do that. And when I tell you I was sweating, my heart was beating out of my chest, I was shook, but I don't know what compelled me. I mean, people be way bigger than me and I'm looking up at them, but just, I don't know why. I was just built this way. I was just like, no, y'all ain't going to get the better of me and my squad. Let's fight.
Let's fight. Oh, I'm here for it. Yo, that's the part that people need to understand is that like, when you do the thing that feels scary, like, or when you do that thing that feels really big, you're petrified doing it, but you just go, I'm gonna go anyway. I'm gonna do it anyway. So little Rachel was ready to fight and spat.
Yes.
For the rights of her peoples, her tiny peoples in the moment.
That's right. My whole squad. And I'm not gonna lie, I did have moments where I was like, when y'all gonna fight for me? Okay. Like I did have some of those moments where I was like, yo, I gotta get a better squad because these people ain't ready to scrap like I am. Like,
ready to fight on your behalf.
They ain't ready to tussle. But I definitely had, I mean, I could tell stories about the physical fights that I've had, so many as a child, as a young teenager. Like, honestly, I probably stopped fighting at like 17, 18, somewhere in there.
But wait, and people see like Rachel Rodgers today and they see like all this polish. So you was out here being a little thuggy kid for a cause, but you had a cause though. It was because people were trying to bully you.
Exactly. I did have a cause. And that's what it was. It was like, and it was bullies, right? There were so many. And of course, we all have our own, even the bullies, right? They have their own pain, their own trauma they're experiencing that they're bringing to the situation. And I'm like, I'm not your punching bag. I'm sorry. And so I'm not going to be that. And, you know, they'd be like, you know, I don't like Rachel. We going to fight after school. I'm like, I'm right here. Fight me now. I used to talk so tough. When I tell you I was shook, jumping out of my skin scared, I would talk mad tough in the cafeteria. And then we'd be like, bet we meet after school. And then I would go into the bathroom stall and literally cry and have a panic attack and then pull myself together and come out of that stall like, let's go.
Oh my. So did you win these fights?
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep losing my headphones. Did I win these fights? That is a great question. Some of them, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think for the most part, I held my own, right? Like sometimes I won and I really didn't win, right? Because if I got the better of somebody to get them off me, I wouldn't keep going. Like I wouldn't beat somebody down, but I would defend myself, you know? So, you know, if I was fighting with someone, you know, once I got to a place where they wanted to back off, then I'm good. And I'm not going to keep going. Like I would never jump somebody with my friends or that kind of thing. I was the one who was like, y'all ain't going to jump her. So let's go. Cause I'm going to stand right here and fight with her. It was that kind of thing. And I don't know, why was this my calling, Luvvie? I don't want to be doing this. Like, why was I doing this? Nobody told me to do this. But for some reason, I would just wind up in these situations. You know what I think it was? I saw my sister get bullied and get chased home from school. And I was just like, that is never going to be me. So you might beat my ass, but I'm going to give you a run for your money. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. I'm going to fight in the meantime. So did you ever get in trouble for it?
Almost never. Almost never. There was always social consequences.
Yeah.
But not really trouble like that. Because first of all, my father was the same. Like, I actually have a memory. This is probably not the best thing to share.
No, give all the tea. I love people come on Professional Troublemaker and give me all the tea. You know, I love it.
What is it about you that just makes people's secrets just start spilling out?
It does every time. I'm here for it. Listen.
I love it. No, but this maybe does, I don't know, maybe it paints my father in a great light. I actually love this about him, this memory I have of him. But I remember being a kid and me and my sister going to the store, my dad driving. So we were parked outside in our little car, me and my sister in the back. And my dad's like, what snacks you want? And he leaves us in the car because, you know, this is what you do whenever this was in the 80s, right? Leave your kids in the car, but in front of the store. And he goes in the store to get us snacks. And actually, here's what happened. He told us, go in the store, say, like, find what you want, put it on the counter, and then I'll come in behind you and pay for it. Right? Because he was double parked. So he couldn't leave the car there or whatever. So we go put our snacks, our little quarter water, our little chips on the counter. We come back out, get in the car. Next thing we know, we see the whole, you know, that row of chips. I don't know if you like from the corner stores and stuff where they have like that like hanging display of all the chips. Yeah. It comes flying out the store.
No.
Yes. My father was Trill. So he took that chip rack, threw the thing out the store because the guy accused him of stealing. And he was so offended and pissed that he wound up throwing their store display. So this is who I was raised by. So that probably explains it. He was just like, listen, and it's the same thing, right? There was racism there. There was injustice there. And so he was like, yeah, I'm not having it. You're going to feel some consequences. And now I'm going to give you something to be mad at me for, to accuse me of, you know? So, and then we just got in the car and drove off, and we did not get chips. We did not get our quarter water.
So what I'm also hearing is that your parents let you be this bold woman and this bold girl.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, I do think that my father probably did have conversations with me about protecting myself, defending myself, you know what I mean? And I don't think he thought we would have to do it all the time, but then we did. And we were prepared for that moment, right? Because I honestly think there was, I mean, it sounds like I've had, you know, hundreds of fights. It wasn't that many. Like It was probably between 10 and 20 in my childhood. But, you know, I was prepared for those moments. And I think I would have had a lot more fights if I would have let people bully me, because they would have thought that I was a target and they would have kept making me a victim, you know?
And I think that's really important. That's really important because we are often told to turn the other cheek. We're told, oh my God, but like in real reality, the energy that it takes to be the bigger person sometimes can actually cost you. And you were like, I'm going to actually stoop to your level to protect myself, which I think is fine. I think, you know, so we hear so much oh no, just be the bigger person. I love the fact that you're like, I had to scrap a few times because otherwise people were going to actually constantly come at my head.
Mm-hmm. You know what? At the end of the day, it's boundaries, right? It's like, this is my boundary. You're not allowed to disrespect me in that way. And I will take it there, you know?
People got to know we're going to come put some heads on spikes. Do you hear me? And it might not always be a physical fight, but I will take you there because this is a relevant conversation that we're having after a wild, by the time people are hearing this interview, this would have already like been old news. But yeah, there was some online scrapping that was happening these last 3 days because of white woman foolishness. And I think about how often we are expected when people disrespect us, when people come at us in wild ways, we're expected to walk away and we're told to not give it energy. No, fuck that. Sometimes you got to let people have it.
Yes. Here, you're going to get all this energy.
I have some time. In fact, I will make some time today to let you know because humans are trash. And sometimes they need to be told, I'm not the one or the two.
Yes, exactly. And also too, I feel like we as Black people are setting a boundary.
Yes.
Like as a collective right now.
As a collective, yes.
In society. And we're saying the way that you've been treating us is not going to continue. So now we're going to hold that boundary line. We're going to enforce that boundary when it's violated. And that's what it looks like. It looks like we're going to jump into your comments, right? We're going to talk about you and we're going to let you know, and anybody else who needs to know that this is unacceptable. This is not how you treat people. It's not how you talk about people. And check yourself. And you know what? You didn't check yourself. So now I'm going to check you.
You ain't check yourself. So now I got to check you. That's a word right there. And I think people need to not feel like they need to apologize for defending themselves. And I think our rage is just as valid as our joy.
Yes. 100%. Like we are not, I mean, first of all, just look at some of the things that go on in society. How could we be in perpetual joy, right? Like that's not, I think that's the thing is when we dig into Black history, we find a lot of scenarios in which we are expected to just like go live on, like be the victims of severe injustice and just to be like, it's fine. No, it ain't fine. That's a lie. And I'm not being a lie to y'all.
It ain't fine.
We ain't just moving on.
No.
I remember that from I had a fight one time with somebody and it was like, it didn't turn into a physical fight, but it was a verbal altercation, right? That's what it was in the beginning. And this person was causing all kinds of drama and like costing me some social, friendships and things like that. And even something that was going back to the job I had at the time. And I was young, like I was like 21 or something like that. And then the person was like, never mind, it's over. Like they just decided we're done with it. We're not going to keep going back and forth. I'm going to drop my piece of it and now it's done. When I say I lost it, when they said it was, I'm like, you think you get to decide when it's, no, you started something. Now it's going to be something. And now you want to drop it? No. We're not going to drop it. We're going to keep talking about it. And too bad you don't like it. You shouldn't have started it in the first place. You know what I mean?
Don't start nothing you can't finish. Don't write checks you can't your mouth can't cash and your energy and stamina can't cash. People, here's the part that pisses me off is when people get started with us, we respond. Folks go, I mean, why are you so mad? You should talk about how the person started and then you want me to be the gracious one? Oh, no. Go to hell. No, I'm not the one.
We're done with gracious. We are done with that.
And let me tell you, grace is a gift.
It's over.
Grace is a gift, right? That I don't have to give you. But I spend a lot of time giving people grace, right? So that's an important piece. And I love that fact. Exactly. Didn't know that about you, Rachel. This is great. I love it. I'm like, you about this life. You about this battle. It's about time that we all know that we can be fought for. We can fight for ourselves. We can defend ourselves. So what were your parents like? What was growing up like? Because I mean, turns out your dad was about that life too.
He was definitely about that life. I would say, I mean, it was probably volatile. Both of my parents were addicts at different points in their lives. We grew up low income. We had times that were good. Like there was a time when both my parents had a good job. So it was almost like we started out poor, living in a 1-bedroom, or not poor, but low income is what I would say. And we lived in a 1-bedroom. Me and my sister lived in the master bedroom. My parents slept on the pull-out couch. And we had not a lot of money, but I remember it being a very happy time. And I was really young during this time. Yeah. And then both of my parents got really good jobs. And then we bought a condo, like they bought a condo. We moved to a nicer building. And I remember that being a phase where we would go shopping and we went on vacations, which was not a thing ever. Right. So we were like probably climbing and more like middle class for a few years. My mother got denied a raise at a job that she had been at for over a decade, like denied a promotion. She got passed over. They gave the job to somebody else. And she was so upset and so offended by that she quit without a plan. And so she lost that job. And then a few months later, my father got laid off from his job. And it was like back tumbling down we went, right? So I got a really powerful lesson around money, right? Like money is important. Economic well-being matters, right? Do I have a desire to be a billionaire? No, I would never be a billionaire because I'd give it all away before I could ever reach that level. You know what I mean? But economic well-being is incredibly important. It's critical, right? To our overall well-being. It affects everything, health, your ability to parent, right? Like safety. There are Black women who have been arrested because they have their kids sitting in the car while they're doing a job interview because they are in that situation, right? Yeah. And like, what creates that situation? Lack of money, right? Like we need money to pay for childcare to be able to go on job interviews or go work or whatever. So that, I think that really shaped my view. And I was like, oh, okay. Money is a very important piece. So even in my childhood, I got to see what it looks like to have none and to have some, you know what I mean? And see what that difference feels like. And then you
saw the dichotomy.
Exactly.
And that surely is a dichotomy. Like that's to have it and then to not have it. Also understood there because we had it at one point, then didn't have it when we came to the US. So I was like, oh, so I had it good before I didn't even realize. Okay, cool. Cool. So when college was happening, like, so at that point, when your parents lost their jobs, how old were you?
I was probably like 10, 9, young. I think I was like, actually, I think I was I remember because it was like a second grade birthday party. And I remember being so proud to invite my friends over. Yeah. Like we had a nice apartment and it looked nice and it had fresh carpet. And like, I was so proud because all my friends seemed to have more money than me, you know? And they were a mixed group. It's almost like diversity has been a part of my life from day one. Like my closest friends were Korean, Black, Trini, you know, like Indian, like my closest friends, they used to call us United Nations walking down the street, you know? So I was always rolling with a diverse squad, but they all had more money than us. And so when we had that like nice moment, and I remember that first birthday party in that apartment. So yeah, it was like second grade. I think it was around that time when we moved in there.
So how did your life like change at that point? How did you change if you did?
Well, I don't know that I changed so much. I mean, it's not like life was all of a sudden easy. It's just that our life was more comfortable. I think my parents they looked less stressed. Like I could feel, it's almost like you could feel how much money they had based on like how they were with us. Like they had more time for us when they weren't stressed about money versus when they were, and they was out here hustling or trying to figure out how to make $1 out of 15 cents, which they definitely know how to do. And they definitely taught me how to do, you know? But that's, I think that I could feel like our family life was just more joyful and more comfortable and easier when we had money, you know?
And then when the job loss happened, what year was that? Like, how old were you at that point?
It was probably only a couple of years later. Like, you know, I think I was probably like 12 or something like that. Like it was like maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years that we had some good times. And the job losses happened. And shortly after that, my father got really sick and he passed away when I was in 7th grade. So it all sort of like went downhill real quick. You know, and it's so funny when I think back to those memories. It's funny you asked that. It feels like years in my mind, like 10 years, but it wasn't. Like those good times was real short.
Yeah, because life can be a ball buster.
For sure.
So what happens at that point?
So my dad passed away. So now it's just me, my sister, and my mother. My sister is 17. She's about to go to college and graduate high school. I am in junior high school acting a fool because I was like my dad was my person. Like my mother was my sister's person and my dad was my person. So I lost my person and there was no therapy. There was no one even talked to me about it really. If I'm being totally honest. No, me and my sister talked about it. Like my sister is my rock, but no one talked about it. My mother was devastated. She had been with my father since she was 16 years old. She didn't know how to be an adult without him. She did, but she thought she didn't, you know? Yeah. So she was in a bad place and, you know, was taking things and starting to drink. And so she was mentally checked out. So honestly, my whole teenage years, I was raised by my sister, my friends down the block, like their parents and grandparents and stuff, like the community. And that's the thing that I kind of miss. Black communities where like you get involved in other people's business. You see kids out here doing the wrong thing. You're going to be like, what you doing out here? You ain't supposed to be out here, you know? And so I had this community, thankfully, involved in raising me when my mother really couldn't because she was not in a good place. And she probably didn't even know how to get the help that she needed. Yeah. I remember calling my aunts to tell on her and be like, yo, I need y'all to come help me. And they would come and they would get her together for like, they'd stay with us for a couple weeks and like get her some help and all of that. And then they'd leave and it would be a couple weeks and it would go right back to that place. So it was the teenage years are tough. Like that was a challenging time. I don't think I realized until recently because I'm pretty hardcore.
Right.
As you have learned, right? So, and also this is probably why I was scrapping too, because I had my own anger from all my stuff.
Correct.
And I had zero patience for people's nonsense.
Correct. You was like, I don't have time for this. Y'all can get these hands. Understood.
So yeah, those teenage years, they were tough.
How did you keep yourself together? Like how was teenage you even going through the world with all of this happening around the same time?
That's a great question. I mean, I think, thank God, right? Like, I feel like God had me. And also too, I will say that was a time where I got introduced to church. Because before that, I went to Catholic church. I went to Baptist church because that's where my families were involved in. But during this time, one of my good friends in high school was going to this church and he was like, you got to come. And it was like a brand new church. And the pastor there, he was just somebody who had lived this crazy life and then became a pastor years later. And he just understood us. And he almost like took all these young kids under his wing and was like, let me tell y'all something. And he would give us the real talk. Like he didn't talk to us like pastors talk. You know what I mean? He'd be like, let me tell you something. Right. And he would explain to me things about sex, things about like, how to think about yourself, how to have more confidence, how to carry yourself, how to, what's important in life. Like he was teaching me life lessons. And so I think I just had this, that became like an adopted family towards the end of high school.
Wow.
Where they were just like this group of kids and this pastor that just had our backs, you know what I mean? And like, that's what I say. Like, I feel like I was raised by this community of people who were just like, had me at different parts. Like I had my squad at home, like in my neighborhood. And then I would get on the bus to go to this church that was mad far away to go be with my other squad over there. And I think that's how I got through those times, And then of course I was ambitious. I've always been an ambitious mofo. So I was like still thinking about that lawyer I wanted to become and how I didn't want to have the struggles that my parents had. So I was like, yo, we got to find a way. Like I'm gonna be an adult soon. I'm gonna need some ones. I'm gonna need these coins.
Yes.
How am I gonna get these coins? We need a plan. So I was very focused always on academics and always doing well in school. I used to do other people's papers. They would pay me to do their papers.
Yo, Rachel was out here.
Hustler.
You were. Oh my gosh. So then where did you go to college?
So I went all over the place. So at first, here's what I did. And this was a very risky move. For sure. But I felt like I had no choice. I mean, it's so interesting to recall these things because I'm like, wow, that's a lot of bold moves I was making. But I decided that I was done watching my mother like drink herself into a stupor and was like, you're going to harm yourself. And I'm not going to sit here and watch. I'm done watching it. It's been 4 years. I'm done. So I decided to go away to college. So I went to State University in New York, Stony Brook. So SUNY Stony Brook. And I just packed up all my stuff. I remember my friends came and helped me, the same friends from church. We rented a U-Haul. Like we didn't know what we was doing. How we even know how to rent a U-Haul at 17?
Right.
But I always had a part-time job from 14 years old because I needed to make money. And so I had a part-time job. I rented a U-Haul, hauled myself out to college and lived on campus because I needed to get out of my household. And what's funny is within probably 2 to 3 months, my mother was clean. She had a full-time job and she got her whole self together. It was like the moment I left, it was like a wake-up call for her.
Wow. Okay. So you started. So tell me about college.
Okay. So college was a hot mess.
Yo.
So I went to SUNY Stony Brook for a year. And while I was there, I heard about this internship that you could get in DC. and you could work for like a senator. And Hillary Clinton had just been she had just become the senator for New York. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go work for Hillary Clinton. So I got this internship, this like sought after internship. I applied, I got it. And I moved to DC to do this internship for a semester. And that like kind of changed the trajectory of things. So I worked in that office for like 4 or 5 months, wound up parlaying that into another job at a lobbying firm, worked there for a year. And all this time I took a break from college to stay in DC because I loved it. It was fun. And when I tell you I was shook to go, I remember being in the shower crying, talk about, I'm scared. And here's the advice that I think will be very valuable to listeners. Here's what my mother said to me, because I went home to pack up and all of that, left my dorm, moved out of my dorm to go to DC for a semester. And so I'm at home and I'm shook to like leave New York, you know?
Right.
And she was like, listen, if you go down there and you hate it, you can always come back home.
Exactly.
And I have used that so many times in my life to talk myself into doing something that scares me. I'm like, listen, just try it, dip your toe in. If you hate it, you can always quit.
You can always go back.
Yes. And I play that in my head on the regular to get myself to do scary stuff.
Yes, because that's why I was like, when we opt out of asking for the raise, it's like, okay, if they say no, you're still in the same place. So if it didn't work out, you still just end up right back in your mama's couch, which is where you were. So
exactly.
You're all right.
Exactly. I just needed that pass. I don't know. For some reason, that was like life-changing advice for me. And then I went down there and of course I wound up staying longer than I was supposed to and took a year off of school to work at a lobbying firm and to realize how crazy that life is. And we were representing people like Philip Morris, like all these big companies, cigarette companies, oil companies. And I was like, I'm always on the side of the people that we're against. So I think I need to find a different place to work.
Oh, yes. Because your moral compass and your values did not fit.
And they knew I didn't fit. Like, basically, I was like the outcast at that firm. That I'm sure they found it very challenging to deal with me. My boss was always mad at me for something. I didn't know what. She was from the South, would never tell me directly, which I found so aggravating. I'm like, just tell me so I could be better. So I worked there for a year, made some good money, paid off some student loans or whatever, and then went out to California to finish school. And so I was following a Nigerian doctor, by the way.
Hey, now.
You didn't know that. You didn't know this about me. So this phase is interesting. So I dated this Nigerian guy that I met in DC. He graduated med school. So he was one of the ones that actually went to med school, and he was doing his residency out in California. And so I was like, I decided to follow him. He wanted that. I wanted it. We were like, screw it, let's do it. So I went out to Northern California and finished school out there and was dating him. And I in my last couple of years of college, I went to Nigeria for a month. In Lagos, and it was an incredible, I feel like I knew my people in a way I never knew them, when I spent time there, just like going to church and everybody singing. Yeah. Like there's no band.
Praise and worship. Praise and worship in Nigeria is different.
Oh my God. I was like, holy crap. I was just like, my life was changed in that moment. So, I had like a host family and they were amazing. And it was an incredible life-changing experience. So,
and you had Nigeria Jollof?
Yes, exactly. I mean, ate good. Listen, they used to laugh because when I first of all, everybody called me Oyibo. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not white.
They saw your light skin. Girl.
Yes. Then we took a group picture one day and I was like, oh, now I see why they call me Oyibo. I'm way louder than all of y'all. But they used to take me to the market and like teach me how it works and everything. And then by the end, I used to I was learning. I was a student. So I used to pack my money. You know what I mean? You know how you wrap your money in was it in like the thousands or whatever? Mm-hmm. I used to have my money so you can't see when I'm negotiating how much I got.
Yes. They coach you on the marketing. On the markets. It's called the markets.
Yes.
Because you got to go different. It's like it's like a class to know how to navigate it.
Listen, it is a whole class. I learned some negotiating skills. Okay. By the end of it, they were hollering because they couldn't believe it. Like how I learned how to ask for things, how to talk them down. Like, oh, I know you're going to look at me and assume I'm a foreigner and I don't know. So, but I'm gonna blow your mind. And they, even the people who are like running the stalls and everything would be entertained by me, like negotiating with them.
They were like, oh, she about that life different.
That was a life-changing trip. It was incredible. The guy didn't work out, but I'm so glad that relationship caused me to wind up going and spending that time.
Imagine being in an online space where people's foolishness doesn't make you want to fight the air. That might sound impossible with your current choices for social media, but I was sick of wading through nonsense to find like-minded people. So I created my online community. And if you're the kind of person who is striving to be a professional troublemaker and fight fear, we need you to join us in that community because you need people to cheer you on. Love Nation is my online community and app that is a safe space in a dumpster fire world. It's the place for the most thoughtful, funny, most chill deficient people on these interwebs. We're a community that comes together to make each other better with curated conversations, opportunities to connect, and challenges to help us transform and do better in every area of our lives. So, I want you to come in there, join us, become a citizen of Love Nation. So go to lovenation.com, LUVVNATION. Download the app in the App Store or on your Android. It's on iOS and Android. And come on through. All right, back to the podcast.
So then after you did all of this, what was next? And how did you end up saying, you know what? I'm not practicing anymore.
Yeah. So after this, so that was sort of like the college years. Then I went to law school because that was always the plan. And law school was traumatizing. I'm not going to lie. Law school was a traumatizing experience because I had graduated college, like summa cum laude, whatever not the top one, but the second one.
The second one, yeah. I think it's summa cum laude.
Yeah. So I was like a really an excellent student. I always knew how to navigate academics. And that was like my safety net. It was kind of like if the whole world was a mess, I didn't know what I was doing with money. My bank account stayed negative $70, but the one thing I did know how to do was school, you know? And so I graduated college, applied to law school, got some scholarships, started law school. I'm telling you, the first semester, when I say I was 3/4 through the semester and didn't know what the hell the professor was talking about still, I was so lost. And I was like, it was a real shock to the system and a blow to my confidence. Cause I'm like, this is what I do, academics. Criminal law with all the Latin and it was so confusing. And I just and then you had contracts, you had torts, you had all these different classes. And it was like 100 pages of reading per class per night.
Jesus Christ.
Lord of mercy. I was not ready. So yeah, that was tough. I mean, I still held my own, but I was probably like a B+ student. And I had to work for that B+. When I say I had to hustle for that B+, now I'm accustomed to I put a little effort in and I'm talking A+ is what I'm used to.
Yes, me too.
I went to law school and it was not happening for me. So that was tough. And then of course I went to a school where it was majority white. They mistreated me as a Black student at different points, and I had, arguments with my professors and I felt like I was being held to a higher standard than some of the white students. So I was angry when I left law school and was like, this is not for me. And I was trying to become an entrepreneur and I tried to start a t-shirt company and that did not work out.
What year was this?
So I graduated from law school. When was that? 2009. So 2008, leading up to graduating, your final year is actually fairly easy. You've done all the hard work by the time you get to the last part. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I was like, I'm going to start this t-shirt business. And I really thought I was going to support myself and pay my student loans levy on this t-shirt business that I didn't know what I was doing. Lord, somebody help this child.
God bless your heart. Okay.
Listen, it was I even had designs made and all of that. But then once I had the product, I was like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to get people to buy it. I don't know how this works. So the t-shirt business went nowhere. So I got a clerkship working for a judge for a year. And that's when I had the idea, okay, I'm gonna start my own business, but I'm just gonna practice law, which I just spent a whole lot of money learning how to do. So let's just do that. Let's go with that.
So then walk me through it.
So I finished my clerkship. Literally the next day I started my law practice, and all I did was email everybody I knew, coworkers, friends, family friends, aunts, right? And it was just like, hey, I'm a lawyer now. I'm starting a law practice. Here's the kinds of law that I can help you with, the kinds of issues I can solve for you. Let me know if I can help you. And from that, I got like 3 friends or friends of friends who became my clients.
Okay.
And that was it. Like I got the ball rolling. And, you know, my very first job was like one of my besties from like, you know, I've known her since she was 4 years old. She was buying a hair salon. And I negotiated the deal and drafted the contract for her. And that was like my first transaction. I don't know what I charged her like less than $500. It was at least $5,000 worth of work. So I really didn't know what I was doing, but I got it done. I had a client, you know?
Yo, you literally kicked it off and already had clients. Like there are people who are like, I'm trying to get my business off the ground. Who can I get people? So how long did you have your practice?
I did that for 6 or 7 years. It was like a 2-year period of transitioning out. But what happened was I built that law practice up to like around $700,000 a year. And, you know, I had mostly women clients who were starting businesses and all of that. It was like the recession, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
People were losing their jobs and they were getting severance pay. So they're like, I'm gonna take this severance pay and start my own business. So I was like, oh, bet, I'm gonna start that business for you. Let me create the business entity. Let me draft your contracts. So that's how I sort of positioned myself. And so, you know, worked with a bunch of people and, you know, had a lot of success over time. Finally learned, like I had Black women friends who pulled me aside. Was like, sis, you need to charge more.
Yes.
Let me help you out. Like, stop undercutting all of us. Okay. And you doing it wrong. Like, so thankfully they checked me. And yeah, so practice is thriving. And people started asking me like, how are you making this happen? How are you having so much success with your business? And so I started coaching them and giving them coaching for free and charging them for the contracts. And then I realized I could charge for the coaching and the contracts could just be free because I'd rather do that. That seems like more fun than all the deadline driven contracts and stuff like that. So that's how I started to transition out, just started coaching people and helping them grow their businesses and still doing that now.
You have now built a 7-figure business called Hello 7.
Yes.
And your whole purpose is to help women become millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about how you grew up and where that real intention came in. What year did you start Hello 7? And what is your ultimate goal for the company?
Yeah. So Hello 7 started in, I want to say 2017. And it was just because I had been coaching people one-on-one in groups, doing retreats, all these different ways. And I was exhausting myself. And I was like, I need to package this up into one thing. This is too complicated, you know? And so I decided to just like turn it all into one program and called it Hello 7, focused my offers so that I'm not coaching everybody under the sun. So I could have a focused group of people that I'm coaching. And, you know, that's what I did. And so, yeah, I mean, since then, Hello 7, the moment I created it, it grew exponentially. Sometimes here's the thing that I want people to take away too. Like sometimes you just got to start with whatever you can do right now. Yeah. And then what happens is over time, it leads you to what you really meant to be doing, right? Like you start with one thing and maybe that's not the finished thing. Maybe it's going to evolve from there, but you just got to let it happen and take it from there.
And I think that's important because some people are afraid to start because they don't have it all the way figured out. Meanwhile, you're supposed to do it so you actually start getting clearer on what you actually want to do, because you'll find out the stuff you don't want to do along the way because you'll do it and go, oh, no, that made me miserable. I hate every piece of it.
Exactly. Like I would have never known if I hadn't started that law practice and run it. I would have never had the opportunity to run a business and realize I love this stuff. I will nerd out on a business all day long. Let's talk business model. Let's break it down. Let's draft it. Like, let's break down the numbers, math equations. I'm into it. You know, I love it, but I never would have known that. I didn't go to business school. I didn't know nothing about business. There was no business in my background, you know? So
You learn by fire.
Yes, for sure.
So now you've written a book.
Yes.
Talk about this book. We should all be millionaires.
I loved, I was just reading your book and chapter 7 in particular, and you talked about that Toni Morrison quote about if there's a book out there that you wish was out there so you could read it and it's not there, you have to write it.
Yes.
So that's what this was for me too. I know that was true for you with the books that you've written.
Yeah.
And for We Should All Be Millionaires, that's what it is. Because I'm like, listen, first of all the personal finance advice is all about what to do with your money once you have it.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool, but can we talk about getting more of it? Because that's the part that I'm interested in. Ever since I was a kid, I remember I used to babysit this little girl, and I tell this story in the book. Her name was Alana. It was like this Jewish family. I used to go to this nice part of town to babysit her. And she lived on a nice tree-lined street, big house. I used to open her pantry, pick her up after school, open her pantry to make her snack. Endless amounts of snacks. And I'd just be like, whoa, you know what I mean? And that moment I'd be like, what do her parents do? I always wanted to know, what do you do? How are you making this money? Right. So I think that's what people want to know is, how to make this money. How do you actually earn more? So that's the book that I wanted to write, was not just about what to do with it once you have it, but how do you earn it? How do you increase what you're earning significantly? So much so that we're no longer aiming for 6 figures, but we're aiming for 7 figures. That's what I wanted to write. And I wanted to write it from the perspective of somebody who's not a white guy, right? Because,
yes. Oh my God.
Listen, all of our personal finance comes from white guys, and sometimes it comes from white women. But what it don't come from is Black women, other people of color, right? None of us are out here telling people how to get money. And that's not becoming a celebrity, right? Because that's what people think, become a basketball player, become a singer. And it's no, there's some regular ass paths to making millions. And I want y'all to know what that looks like. So that's what this is. It is a handbook. How do I get from 0 to 7 figures? Because I started at 0. I was -0 because I had taken out all these law school loans. So my net worth was negative 200,000, somewhere in that ballpark when I started. And I will tell you, it ain't negative no more. Okay.
Amen. 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 What do you think is the most limiting thing that women face when it comes to trying to build wealth?
I think it's society. I think society tells women being ambitious is wrong. I think we have messages about what we're supposed to do in the home. We're supposed to keep a clean home. We're supposed to get married. We're supposed to have babies. We're supposed to take care of those babies while still working a job. Right? We don't stay at home like it was in the 50s, right? And I don't know if that was true for ever true for Black people at large, right? But this image that we have of what a successful woman looks like, and we got to be hot, we got to do all the work, we got to have the baby, you know what I mean? It's endless. And so we have this pressure that we're supposed to be all of these things, and that we're not supposed to focus on our careers. We're actually shamed for it. We're shamed for focusing on our careers. When, people talk about you, if you're I'm building my career or whatever, oh, she must not spend no time with her kids. Right. That's what they be saying. That's what they be saying. And I want to smash that whole thinking. That's what we think, that's, we have to, that it's wrong to be ambitious. And I think it's time for us to turn towards our money and focus on our money and not feel bad about it and learn how to fit it in with all the things. Listen, I get 8 hours of sleep. I work out every morning. I do not work on weekends, and I'm making millions.
Come on, life balance. You got a ranch and everything. You got horses to feed, and you've been able to build it, honestly, doing what you love and giving women permission to want to be wealthy. Because we are giving guilt when we want to build wealth. We're told that we need to be of service, but how can we be of service to ourselves when we don't got money? So we don't know where our next meal is coming from or how we're going to pay our rent.
Exactly. And, there are all these media messages sent to women stop buying lattes, stop buying shoes. You're all shopaholics, cut coupons, right? Those are the messages sent to women. The messages sent to men are, become powerful, take risks, invest in yourself, right? They get these powerful messages and we get shrink, get smaller, contract, stop spending money, hide, right? And I'm just no, I reject all of that.
We're not going to take it on because it is just harmful to our whole systems. Like, and I think that's why the work that you do is really important. It's like just to talk about money without shame.
Yes.
To talk about a lot of money without shame, because people tend to be like, oh my God, so are you now funny acting because you got money? No, but if more of us had money, I actually want more women to make money because I trust us more with cash.
Yes. Hello. Speak on it. I mean, there are so many stats in the book. I did so much research around how women with money donate like 3 times more money than men with this who make the same amount of money.
Wow.
There are so many stats that show that in war-torn societies, when they want to rebuild those communities, they go in and they invest in the women, because if the women are okay financially, they're going to make sure the children are okay. They're going to make sure the whole community is okay, right? Like we are the conduit for well-being for the world, literally. And so when we are doing better, like everything will get better. I truly believe that. And we need to have more political and economic power. And that comes from money. Because listen, when my friends are marching in the street and they got a cause, I can send out a food truck. I can, make major donations. Like I can write those checks. So like we all have a role to play in this fight. And that's my role. And I want more people to be in that position to play that role as well.
And that's why I want people to, even if you don't want to make money because you're like, I don't buy anything, make money so your money can be of service to the world. So somebody who does need it can get it. So it's not just about making money for you. You're making money for the world. And I think that is necessary. That is important. Yes. Don't feel bad. And we've been made to feel bad about it. So how do you every day, like, affirm yourself and speak life into this whole making money world that you're trying to build?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try to be the woman that I encourage other people to be, right? So like the advice that I give, I actually live it. I don't just like talk about it. So, so I'm investing in other businesses. One of the things that I'm working on that probably won't be rolled out till next year is I'm creating a fund for women entrepreneurs to be able to invest and give them access to capital. And so that's one of the things I'm doing, taking excellent care of myself and doing it so that people can see it. I share my workout videos or whatever, not because I don't give a crap about weight loss. I share those workout videos so people see I am a Black woman who takes care of herself. And let me be a role model to you. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing. And just doing different things like having horses. Like how many Black women own horses and own a ranch, right? Like just being that example, taking risks, doing the things that I do and showcasing it, showing other people, not because I want to, because trust me, I am not somebody who has a desire to be famous. I don't really like being seen so publicly. And I struggle sometimes with how much to share. And sometimes I'm just like, I just want to run and hide.
Yes.
It's hard to have your life on public display, but I know how important it is and how much it inspires other people for people to see it. And so that's why I do it. And and also teaching other people. Like we have a program called The Club where we teach, and I really feel we don't just have women, we have queer people, we have all kinds of people of color. It's like everybody who's not a straight white guy is in that program. Learning how to build wealth with the context of we are a systemically and historically marginalized people. How can we win in a society that is not built for us to win? That's what we're doing in the club. Because I think other places they're like, well, they just gaslight you. You shouldn't have this problem. Just go do it. No, it don't work that way for me, right? This is not, our society isn't built that way for me. We acknowledge that and we give training that helps them accomplish those goals despite some of the challenges that we all experiencing and with acknowledgement of those challenges. So I think that's really important.
The schmillies. You actually already answered some of it, but what are the other things that you do for self-care?
Okay. So last night, for example, I put on the Isley Brothers because of Versus.
Come on, the Uncle Chella.
Yes. Listen, I can't. So I put on, there's a Versus playlist on Spotify. So I put that on, got in the sauna. So I have a sauna at the ranch. And
Amen.
I was in there for 20 minutes. And, my kids were watching TV with their father. So I was like, yes, y'all live y'all best lives. I'm going to be down here in the sauna. So stuff like that. I get in the hot tub. I go for walks. And, before I had a sauna, I would just sit in the hot shower for 20 minutes. Like that was my sauna. So you could still live that sauna life, even if you don't have a sauna. So
that's real.
Yeah. I do Peloton. I do Pilates twice a week.
Peloton, girl. I'm so raggedy about
being on Peloton.
Girl, I be getting on Peloton like once a week. I'm trying. I'm gonna do better.
Once a week leads to twice a week. You just gotta give it time. Habits take time to form, you know. It's not quick.
I fell off the bandwagon right before my book came out because I was doing like 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah,
I fell completely off the bandwagon. The bandwagon was done with me. So I'm gonna try to get it back.
You just gotta recover from your book launch, and that's a big output.
Yeah, that thing wiped me out. That's why I hope y'all better go buy Black women's books. Go buy Rachel's book after this episode. Go buy Tiffany Alice's book. Yes. Go buy my book. The way we are putting work into this stuff, y'all, on the minimum. The content is amazing. Be clear, that's that part. But y'all, we be out here just because we got to work 4 times as hard.
Listen.
Okay, we got to work 4 times as hard to get on whatever list or to even just get to sell units. So please, because I'm still recovering. But Rachel, you're starting your book pub journey. So what is the way you're going to be taking care of yourself in the middle of this book pub madness?
Yes. Well, I do therapy once a week.
Amen.
Where I can go have a good cry. Listen, you just go schedule that good cry every week. You need that good cry once a week.
Sure do. Look, go lay your burdens down. All right.
So yes, therapy, hanging out with my bestie, Robert Hartwell, who makes me laugh nonstop. So just hanging out with him. And he also, you know, all about this, right? Get you a friend that will hype you up like nobody's business. Your friends that hype you up, you need that. Like he will just bless me with a pep talk. Just hit me with it. Just because. Hit me on the phone with, just because, right? Just out of the graciousness of his heart. And so that is really important, having people that support you. Honestly, I think that's probably the most important thing for the financial journey, for any journey, right? Having a squad that is there for you, supports you, there for you for the hard parts. That is key.
So my last question is, what do you consider a professional troublemaker?
Ooh.
What does it mean to make good trouble?
Yes. It means to disrupt systems that need to be changed. Yeah. That's what I think that looks like.
That's good. So what does that look like for your life?
For me, it's, we have a system where, and MLK talked about it at the end of his life. He started to shift and talk about how the economics mattered so much and how putting money in the hands of Black people and the fact that we have such a disproportionate system that we needed to bring balance to it. He talked about that. And that's been that way for so long. So for what I'm here to do is put more money in the hands of Black people and other marginalized people. And entrepreneurship is the path that I teach them on because that's what I know, but that's what I'm here to do.
I'm here for it, fam. I am so encouraged by your work. I'm so glad you exist. You're over here normalizing Black women thriving and being luxurious and having horses and whatnot. Like that in itself is troublemaking because there's a girl somewhere who was like, I didn't even know that was possible.
Yes, exactly. And I just want to thank you for all of your support. I feel your support. You are not somebody that just talks about supporting other Black women and, supporting your sisters. You actually do it. You are all about that life. So I appreciate you for doing that always.
Look, doing good people see good people, and we must always support each other. And I am always on your side, and I am excited for everybody to read. We should all be millionaires and put the mindset into work. And listen, I want all of us to make good money so we can be of service to ourselves first, and then of service to the world without constantly suffering, without not knowing, where we're going to get the money that we need to just live. So I'm hoping people pick up this book, join your club, and they really get used to talking money and saying, I do want to have a lot of it so I can do some good things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yes. Rachel, this was dope. Shook it. You shook it. Look, you might cry a few more times. It's okay.
Oh, I'm going to cry all month. I mean, I got scheduled cries on Mondays with my therapist.
Not scheduled. I'm telling you, that is necessary.
so necessary.
That's so necessary. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good for your heart, but it's going to be good. This book is going to bless folks. It's going to bless the peoples.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
Rachel is the real deal. She's out here leading, being an example of what is possible, even if you're currently in a place where financial success might seem impossible. It was inspiring listening to her story, that she was able to go from negative net worth to riding horses that she owns on her own ranch. And through her book and business, she walks us through how it's possible for everybody. And I'm here for it. I also love the conversation about how money allows you to not only take care of yourself and your family, but to be of service to the world. That's necessary, and that is important. If you're listening to this in the first week of May, get yourself a copy of Rachel's book this week. We want to see more Black women on these bestseller lists. And buying a hardcover copy of the book during pre-orders and in the first week it comes out makes a huge difference towards that. So go check out We Should All Be Millionaires at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy your books. We'll share links in the show notes and at awesomelyluvvie.com. Be sure to tag Rachel with your favorite quotes and highlights and show her love if you loved and connected with what she was saying. She's at Rach Rodgers-esque on Instagram and Twitter. That's RACHRODGERSESQ on Instagram and Twitter. Go follow her. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Professional Troublemaker podcast. If you loved what you heard, make sure you subscribe to Professional Troublemaker in your podcast platform of choice and share it with people. Let them know this is dope. Also, order my namesake book, Professional Troublemaker, the Fear Fighter Manual, anywhere that you buy books. I especially love when you buy it from independent bookstores. So go to professionaltroublemakerbook.com for more, because this book is game-changing, and I'd say that even if I wasn't the one who wrote it. And please make sure you rate this show and leave a comment with a 5-star review, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you choose to listen. Feel free to also share some insights and whatever connected with you on social media. And be sure to tag us. We are at Professional Troublemaker on Instagram. And me, I'm at Luvvie everywhere. Until next time, have the courage to speak your truth and show up as yourself. Create good trouble.